Hello, and welcome to Oblock's Rimworld Guide to Low-Tech and Other Useful Mods. Rimworld is an endlessly fascinating colony builder with a near-endless supply of user-created mods available to augment your game as little or as much as you like. The base game itself offers a full, satisfying gameplay experience. However, the ability to add modded content opens up vast possibilities and new experiences. Mods can be relatively simple affairs, such as adding in a few new pieces of furniture or different weapons, or entire complex modules modifying many aspects of gameplay. Upon browsing the Steam Workshop for Rimworld mods, one can easily be overwhelmed. At over 19,000 mods and counting, how does one go about selecting the correct ones? In this guide, I will list and discuss many of the mods I prefer to run, with most of them adding or adjusting content for the pre-industrial era of the game. As I've beaten the game several times, I found the journey to the end to be far more satisfying than the final blast-off to leave the planet. Consequently, I tend to play the game with the goal of creating an interesting, aesthetically pleasing colony with no real intent to ever leave the planet. I also tend toward medieval settings, so generally I don't play with the industrial and spacer factions, nor with guns or industrial tech. This is not to say a person can't use these mods to play the full array of tech levels, of course. Anyway, on to the mods! I've separated the mods into two different lists. The first is a quality of life list that will generally improve gameplay or address minor inconveniences. The second list is more about mods that add to the medieval gameplay experience. First and foremost, there are a couple of mods that are required to support the others that you'll be using. Hugslib is required for many mods, and you'll need Jex tools to support a Rimworld of Magic. Make sure these are at the top of your list. Stabilize allows your pawns to tend to down pawns on the spot without having to haul them to a medical spot or bed. For ease of base planning, More Planning and Designator Shapes offers a plethora of features. More Planning offers numerous colors for the planning tool, and more importantly, an easy way to copy and paste your plans for duplicate building designs. Designator Shapes also works with actual buildings such as walls, making it easy to lay out a square, rectangle, or various circular shapes. If you've ever wanted your pawns to chop only the fully grown trees or plants, More Harvest Designators provides separate buttons to do just that. No more clicking from plant to plant to see if they're ready. It also adds a button to chop only the blighted plants, making it much easier to carve out those bad ones. Pick Up and Haul allows pawns to gather up more than one type of item before heading back to the stockpile, saving time and steps. Silent Doors is a must-have if you're tired of hearing doors opening and closing all day, while lag-free lamps removes refueling costs on torches and wall lamps. This means you don't burn up all of your wood if you want to keep a light on in every room. Optimization Meats just makes it so that all meat drops are the same generic type, so you don't have 3 pieces of rabbit meat, 5 chunks of beef, and a buffalo spleen just laying around being unused. It also means you don't have to waste 3 different tiles for 3 different meats. If you want a certain pawn to dress a certain way, such as decking out your melee specialist in heavy plate mail, Outfit Builder allows you to easily set pawns' outfits. Rimhud is a little square that presents relevant pawn information all in one place. Mood, health, and skill levels all show up here, as well as many other useful bits of info. Are you tired of watching your nearsighted colonist pepper your melee pawns with his inaccurate ranged shots? Avoid Friendly Fire prevents pawns from taking a shot at something if there is a friendly pawn in the line of fire. It can be toggled off if you're feeling plucky. Simple Sidearms allows pawns to carry and automatically switch to a secondary weapon based on circumstances. I use this to arm them with a ranged weapon and a melee secondary weapon, which they draw when engaging in close quarters. Run and Gun allows all pawns, friendly and enemy, to fire ranged weapons while moving. This can be toggled on or off. Defensive positions allows you to set a spot for each colonist to report to in the event of an attack. You can set up to 4 different positions for each pawn and send them all there with the push of a button. Very handy if you have a kill box, choke point, or a usual defensive spot. If you're having trouble snagging those pesky but potentially useful raiders for recruits, it's likely due to them dying a horrific death upon being downed. Custom death randomness allows you to change their chance of survival on being downed, making it easier to capture them and patch them up. Alternatively, you could set it to a very high kill chance, leaving a field of corpses for the carrion birds. Last but not least, prepare carefully is eminently useful for setting up a specific pawn or team before dropping into the map. It allows you to edit pawn stats and traits, starting equipment, and saving the configuration. This can be useful if you're trying something very specific and you don't get a suitable map the first time around. Just start over and reload your pre-made pawn or team with very little hassle. These mods will add useful pre-industrial features to flesh out the early and mid-game. For those people who want an in-depth medieval experience, the Medieval Times mod is one of the most complete. It adds new long storage food types such as jerky and dried fruits, medieval period clothing, armor and weapons, and some additional furniture. This is a must-have for medieval playthroughs, in my opinion. If you want to run an immersive medieval game without technology, you'll probably want to grab Vanilla Factions Expanded and KV Faction Control. The former adds a medieval storyteller that will adjust content accordingly, while the latter offers a way to disable the more futuristic factions. A Rimworld of Magic is a great way to add both wizards and warriors to your game, as well as a few new magically inclined factions. There are many classes to choose from, with a bevy of spells and fighter abilities. If you don't want modern weapons such as guns and grenades showing up, you'll want to add primitive weapons only. This should eliminate the vast majority of newer weapons from appearing in the game. Some will probably still pop up occasionally in the form of quest rewards and certain vendors, but you can ignore these if you choose. Since you won't have access to a handy-dandy radio, No Power Comms console provides a low-tech solution of message bench and carrier pigeon to fill the role. Czar's Tribalism adds a few tribal-oriented features, though I mostly use it for the stone chipping spot right off the bat. This way you can build stone walls earlier without having to bumble through the research tree for stoneworking. You'll still need to learn how to build stone floors, however. Fortifications Neolithic adds a form of wooden wall that can have arrow loops to shoot through. The door is also much tougher to break. LWM's Deep Storage and Primitive Storage bring a large variety of storage items to the game. These range from wooden pallets to weapons cabinets to clothing racks and hold much more than a single tile would normally allow. Say goodbye to your giant warehouses with crap all over the floor. As a bonus, the storage units look good and add character to your base. One of the hardest problems to deal with early on is the threat of infection. A simple scratch from a pissed-off rat can lead to unavoidable death in many instances. Argon's Tribal Medicine offers a handful of new cookable recipes to address infections, food poisoning, and other status impediments. You'll have to scour the map carefully to find the rare ingredients, but this tech is available from the start, potentially saving your colonist's life. Since you'll likely be building a grand castle at some point, you're going to want a cool moat to go with it. Unfortunately, the game does not let your people dig a trough to fill with water. Terraform Rimworld adds the potential to rework any parcel of land into any other terrain type, including deep water. It has a substantial research cost and is normally locked into the industrial level, but you can pop into dev mode to unlock it quick once you're ready to dig moats, if you've been locked out by the storyteller. To traverse your fancy new moat, you'll need a proper drawbridge. SD Bridges provides just that, after a bit of easy research. You could just use the vanilla bridges, but they're not as secure and they don't look as good. On the maps without a whole lot of available stone, you might find yourself wishing you had some more rocks. Quarry 1.1 adds a production spot on top of stone terrain that will dig up the stone type of that particular terrain. A quarry also comes with medieval times, but it is limited to producing the vanilla stone types, so if you're using a mod like Cupro's Stones, you'll need Quarry 1.1 to dig those. The Cattle Gate is a very simple mod that just adds a new door type. The gate works like a regular door, except animals cannot pass through and raiders can. This is useful in the early game if you want to block off your farmland from those hungry and rude grazers, but still want a spot where enemy raids will come in. Hopefully you'll find some of these mods to be useful or entertaining. These lists do not include the numerous mods I use to reskin textures, so if you see any graphics you don't recognize and want to know where they originate, feel free to ask. Thanks for dropping by Oblock's Guide to Low-Tech Rimworld Mods. See you next time.